Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this TradeStation webinar. It is the art of TradeStation, and we are going to talk about average true range. The actual title is Measure Volatility with TradeStation's built-in average true range study. So a lot of times, we think about average true range, and we don't really think about volatility, but it is a simple measure of volatility. And we're going to get to it in a little moment. And I'll show you some custom studies that I was practicing with. And I'll share those studies with everyone here as well so that you can import those into your TradeStation platforms. But before we jump into today's topic, let's go ahead and go through some of the disclosures. By the way, my name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. I always enjoy these presentations, especially the ones that talk about the TradeStation technology. But just be aware that any symbol and idea that I use in this presentation is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, active trading is not suitable for everyone, and past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. If you need additional details on these disclosures, go to www.tradestation.com/important-information. For those that are trading options and futures, we have additional disclosures right there at the bottom. We may look at different examples that include options and futures, and that's the reason why those disclosures are there. But guys and gals, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to be here, and let's jump over to the TradeStation platform right away and talk about what my thinking process is when I talk about average true range. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see you. I haven't seen anybody share the location where they're at. I'm broadcasting from the city of Houston, Texas. So it'd be interesting to know where you are connecting from. We get a lot of connections from all over the United States, and sometimes we get people from abroad. So I see some people from New Jersey, Phoenix, North Carolina, people from Colombia, California, Florida, Arizona, Tennessee, Dallas, Texas. We are a little bit close. Oh, Jackie's from Houston too. Hi, Jackie. So welcome, everyone. I used to live in Miami, by the way. So for those that are Floridians, I live there as well. So great. So thank you, everyone, for taking some time out of your schedules to learn a little bit about the TradeStation technology. Although ATR may not be a foreign concept to many of you, and you probably have an ATR study already applied to your charting because you use it for many different purposes. Maybe you use it to set up your stop losses or your profit targets. ATR is great, to set realistic expectations as to how much a security is going to move. And that's exactly what average true range does. It just measures movement. It doesn't really tell you direction, but it does give you the potential movement of any security that you pull up on a chart. It doesn't matter if it's futures, it doesn't matter if it's a stock. It does provide you a view into its movement and how far up and down it's been recently. Let me go ahead and give you an example here. All right, let me go ahead and remove some of these studies that I have here so it's not confusing. I have two symbols right here on the screen. Let me remove this indicator. I meant to remove the other one. Let me add the average true range. This is a built-in study, part of the TradeStation platform. I'm just adding it here to two daily charts. The stocks that I have here on the left-hand side, I have FANG. It's a corporation by the name of Diamondback Energy. And here on the right, I have a stock called the Trade Desk Incorporated. The symbol is TTD. The reason why I selected these two symbols, and by the way, these two symbols are part of the NASDAQ 100 index. And the reason why I selected them is because of their ATR value right here at the bottom. If you guys look at this yellow line, that's just average true range. And you see the value on both symbols is 2.75. Both charts are daily charts. So the calculation of the ATR is based on daily values. What does the ATR tell us? It tells us that these two symbols, Diamondback and the trade desk, both move an average of $2.75 a day. It's just an average. And the average true range by default, it's looking back 14 periods. So these are 14 trading days. If you were to take a calculator out, and look at the range of each one of the candles for the past 14 trading days, you would get exactly this number down here, 2.75. So the reason why I picked these two is because they both are exactly the same. They move an average of $2.75. So if you had, or if you owned 100 shares on each one of these securities, you're saying that your account value should fluctuate an average of $275 a day. Of course, this is an average. The range could be higher or lower than $2.75, but in average, that's what we expect as the movement of these securities. It is very telling because you have an idea of how this security has moved in the past. You get a sense of its volatility, and you can set real expectations as to where or how much the price is moving. Now, going back to our example of owning 100 shares on each one of these securities, even though the expectation of movement is the same, and even though they both have the same ATR value, when it's time to trade, there's a big difference in the risk that you're taking in trading these securities. If you take a look at, for example, Diamondback, symbol FANG, the value of that stock is 149. So if you were to buy 100 shares of this symbol, it would cost you close to $15,000. To be more exact, it would cost you $14,901. When you come over here to the right-hand side and you look at TTD, which is the trade desk, this security is valued at $74.51. If you were to trade the same 100 shares on this security, we're talking about an investment of $7,451. On one side, we have approximately $7,000. On this other side, we have double the amount at an investment of almost $15,000. So when it comes to risk, one clearly has much more risk than the other. You're investing double the amount to get the same movement, $2.75. So in reality, when you look at these two symbols, which one would you say would be a more I don't want to use the word better, but in terms of an investment, where would you rather put your money? Of course, in a stock that does not have the same amount of risk, and of course has the same amount of movement, because you're still risking your capital, but you are risking on a stock that is going to move the same amount as another stock that has a big investment. So so it's really interesting how we can use something as simple as an average true range value to understand, the movement of a security, but it's very important as well to look at that ATR value in relationship to the value of the stock, a percentage of the value of the stock. And that's the reason why we have a different calculation of the ATR that turns that number into a percentage when compared to the value of the security. Because by turning these values of the ATR movement into a percentage, this allows you to compare one stock to another and have a very fair comparison when it comes to movement, taking into consideration, how expensive a stock may be. Let me share with everyone here a link that I got ready for everyone. It's a zip folder. The zip folder has an ELD file and it has two workspaces. The two workspaces in that zip folder are the same ones that I have here on the screen. Now, when I opened up my TradeStation a few moments ago, it asked me to update it. And I did picked to update my TradeStation. So if you've been delaying the update of TradeStation, which I don't know if you have the option to, and you get this message that you haven't, or you're not using the most recent version of TradeStation, just make sure that you're updating your TradeStation so that you can use the workspaces that are there. But the ELD is just a simple indicator that turns the ATR value into a percentage. Let me go ahead and add it here on the left-hand side. I'm going to go to Studies, Add Studies, and the name of the study starts with an @ sign. So most of the indicators that we share here in the Art of TradeStation series have that prefix so that you can quickly find them at the top of the list. And this indicator is named @ARTTS, or Art of TradeStation, ATR Volatility Percentage. I'm going to put that here on my chart. Okay, here we go. It's right there at the bottom, and I'm going to do the same thing here on this other side. Studies, Add Studies, name is @RTS ATR Volatility Percentage, and I'm going to click OK. Yes, Armando, I was talking about the updates to the platform. Sometimes when I share workspaces that are created on a newer version of TradeStation and you try to open up that workspace, if it's not exactly the same version or something newer, it'll tell you, hey, your version is outdated or it's old, you cannot open this workspace. So let me know if you're able to see that or what messages you get. Yeah, I'll post the link right here. Okay. At ARTTS, so ARTTS. That's just an abbreviation for Art of TradeStation. Okay, so I just added that custom indicator right here at the bottom. So you can look at the name or the indicator here and see that for Diamondback, we have a 1.84. Now, this 1.84 is a percentage. So we know that it moves, $2.75 an average, but that just is 1.84% of the value of the security. Okay, so we turn that movement into a percentage. If you want to see the exact calculation of this indicator, everyone here is welcome to. In fact, the easy language is open for you guys to see it. Let me show it to you. Let me open up my development environment. So that indicator only has these 6 lines, very simple piece of code. And what I want to concentrate on here is this line. This is the formula. We're taking the average true range. There's a built-in function that calculates average true range. We're dividing it by the closing price and then dividing or multiplying it by 100. That's how you get that percentage. Very straightforward. There's no tricks here and nothing secret. So anybody can calculate this on their own. When I come over here to TradeStation and I compare that to TTD, which is the trade desk, you can see how the percentage here is 3.69. So it's 3.69% of the value of the security. So even though these two stocks are moving, $2.75 in average based on the ATR, when you turn that value into a percentage, you can see that the trade desk is moving double the amount when compared, when expressed into a percentage. That's very interesting to know. And when you look at, different candidates to trade in the market, it's very important to understand how these securities are moving and how one can be more beneficial than another based on risk to reward ratios. So it's important that every trader keeps that in mind. So these are just 2 symbols that I picked at random because they had the same ATR value. And I just wanted to drill down the point that it's not all about, how much the security is moving, but it's about how much the security is moving in regards to the value of that security. Let me show you something that you can do with this study that is going to probably allow you to find other trading opportunities that you maybe didn't think of before. And we use that in a form of a scan. I'm going to use the scanner in TradeStation to scan the whole universe of symbols to find the ones that have the most movement to price relationship. So we're going to use that percentage calculation that we talked about to scan for stocks. Let me go ahead and show you an example. Let me open up a new workspace here. And let's go ahead and open the scanner. I'm going to go to apps and click on scanner. Let me just make sure that I'm not skipping any of your questions here. Let's see. Armando's asking, can you modify the ATR length to suit your taste? Yes, definitely. Did I say that? Yes. In the ATR, of course, the default value is 14. So not only the built-in ATR, you can modify the length, but also the one that I supplied here as a custom study. Just double click on the line, go into the inputs, and then change how far back you want that average to be. And another thing that you can maybe consider is also using an exponential moving average. I believe the average true range uses a simple average calculation for the ATR. It would be interesting, and I started thinking about this afternoon. It would be interesting to see the same calculation on an exponential moving average, which gives a little bit more weight to recent data. So a lot of times, if you're going back too far, the recent bars are not giving the importance that they should. So that's something that I just thought about this afternoon. I said, well, what if we used an exponential moving average instead of the simple? Just I'll leave you guys with that idea, and I give you the tools so that you can modify the code, but it's something that we can revisit maybe in another presentation, and how we can use ATR with an exponential moving average. So let's see. All right. Thank you, Greg. Correct, Ron. Yes, that's absolutely correct. So thank you guys for your participation in the chat, and thank you for your comments. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and see. Let me go over here to my workspace that I just opened. And I was talking about doing a scan for stocks that have a high percentage ATR volatility compared, to their price. I'm going to come over here and well, I have a scan here called ATR percent already, but let's go ahead and create one from scan. I'm going to click on add, and I'm going to call this scan. Let's do ATR volatility percent. All right. The next screen is going to ask me to select the symbols that I want to scan through. So I'm going to click here on this drop down. I'm just going to make my scan on all stocks. I'm going to run my scan on all stocks. I don't have any exclusions. So I'm going to leave the bottom part empty. I'm including all stocks. All right. So here we have the scanner. I have a row here by default, which is description. I like to see the description of the security because it tells you what the name of the corporation is. And sometimes by the name, you may be able to tell what type of business or industry that company is in. Sometimes, we have no idea what it says, but description sometimes tells, oh, I know that company. I know the company by name. I may not know it by the ticker symbol. So that's the reason why I have the description there. On the second row, I'm not going to do a filter by price because I just want to have the range of symbols and the universe of symbols, and then maybe narrow them down by volume. So I'm going to say volume average. And I do most of my scans, and the first thing that I scan by is volume, because I want stocks that are liquid, that have enough activity or trading activity for it to be a good reflection of movement, and not some sporadic trades that happen in history that may have affected the price of the security. So I want to make sure that there's enough liquidity for us to have a fair, and very smooth price movement. So I'm gonna look for a volume average that is greater than 1 million. And I may come back here and refine the search, but I want the average to be at least 1 million shares traded each day. A lot of times when I create my scans, I run them before I complete the filters so that I know how much each one of the filters that I'm using affects the universe of symbols. So I'm going to click on run right here to see how many symbols remain after I apply this 1 million shares traded filter. I'm going to run it. This runs, you can see all the symbols that come up. All these symbols, as you can see, have a volume average greater than 1 million. But what I like to see is some of the stats that I get right here in the log. If I go to the log, it tells me how many symbols are added to my universe. And the universe size right now, it's 11,252 symbols. Now that's a big chunk of symbols. And in order for me to scan through those symbols, I have to start using filters. But notice how interesting it is that by using a 1 million traded shares average on this universe of symbol of over 11,000, I only have 1,353 symbols remaining. Pretty impressive, right? So you can already tell that the majority of the stocks right here in this symbol universe are not traded as much as, at least as much as I would like them to be. You know, my filter is look for stocks that have an average traded volume of 1 million, and it only found 1,353. So a very impactful filter right here in my screen. So out of those 1,353 symbols, let's go ahead and continue our scan. So I'm going to click on customize right here. I just look over here at the top, make sure that the one that I started off, the scan that I started off with is the one that it's highlighted. And then I just click on customize right here at the bottom. Yes, correct, Bob. It'll not be 1 million a day. That's very true. It's just an average. It could have been, 10 million one day, 100,000 the next day. It's just an average over the 10 days. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at my third row here. And maybe doing a scan on 1,353 symbols. It's an easy calculation. The ATR is an easy calculation. It's not as intensive. Let's go ahead and do it on the 1,353 symbols just to get an idea on how long this will take. I'm going to come over here to my indicator, use this custom indicator that I just selected. So I'm going to go here to @ARTTS ATR volatility percent. This is the one that I shared with everyone here in class. And I want the percentage, doesn't really matter, I can say, give me stocks that have a percentage higher than 5%, for example. Or you can just say, give me the top number. The top number. And I'm going to monitor maybe, let me give, let's go ahead and select 100. So right here on the right-hand side, I'm just going to type in 100. So out of all those symbols, it is going to calculate that percentage for the 1,300 and odd symbols, and then it's going to select the top 100 in that category. Let's run this and see if this is going to take too long. I may have to stop it and restart it, but you can see how it's running right here and it's going across the screen. So I'm just going to leave it there and maybe start, taking some questions out of the chat or giving you some insight about other things that I provided in this workspace. All right, so here, while this is running, let me go here to this other workspace, because in here, what I did is I provided a radar screen window that has the average true range study added as a column, and it also has the percent or the @Art of TradeStation ATR volatility percent, which is a study that I provided in that custom zip folder. So if you were to double click on this column header and then double click again, it'll sort symbols in descending order based on that ATR volatility percent. So here we have big volume value stocks. I forgot what the criteria I used to look for these stocks, but I think it was I think it was just volume, and then we looked at another fundamental data piece. But you can do all sorts of things and rank symbols based on the volatility percent. For example, we have AMC Entertainment Holdings, you can see how the ATR is about $6 or close to $6, but that represents, 41% of its value. Now, if I were to come here, this is something that I didn't do, but if I were to come here and add a chart here on the right-hand side, apps, chart analysis. All right, let me put it right here so that I can take a look at AMC. I'm going to change the time frame over to daily. There we go. So we can see that dramatic drop in price, back in a couple weeks ago, August 11th, the stock was trading at $50. There was a big drop in price. Right now it's trading at $14. I'm not familiar with AMC or what happened to it, but this I wasn't aware of. And I was able to, do a ranking on my radar screen. And now I'm paying attention to AMC. And now I'm curious to see what happened to it. Is there any potential in trading this stock? But the ATR percentage here at 41% just means that in the last 14 days, this stock has moved crazy. And it doesn't give you direction, of course. And by bringing up the chart, we can see that it's a clear drop in price, and it's a significant drop in price. A tragic movie. That's right. Yeah. So if anybody knows, AMC, be interesting for us to know and share it here. All right. Okay. Chris is asking, why not scan on volatility SD rather than ATR percent? Yes. I mean, the possibilities here are multiple, and you can just choose how you want to do the scan, and it's all right, there's no right or wrong here. Let me go back here to my scan. This is almost finished. We are at 97%. It'll take a while to compile, but it's almost finished. And I wanted to show you also in this other workspace that I provided that not only do I have a list here of stocks, I also have another tab here in this radar screen that gives you futures. So if you're a futures trader, this is a great way for you to rank symbols based on percentage movement. Of course, I mean, it's for futures a little different because the point value on each one of these futures is different. So now that I think about it, it's not a real representation of how much potential trading a particular futures would provide you, because the percentage movement is just based on pointage movement, but every point in futures represents another value. This, of course, gets my thinking going, and I'm just saying, well, what if we multiply the quoted value of the futures time its point value? For example, let me show you what I'm thinking. So the S&P E-mini right here at the very top, the value is 4,300. For those that are trading the E-mini, we know that every point represents $50. How do I know? Well, you can go to, if you right click on at ES and you go to, I'm not sure if you can do it here though, because that's data that's on a chart. But if let me link this. Yeah, the pointage or the value for each point of a futures contract, you can find that on the chart. So if I double click on the candle and I go to the properties tab, you're going to find something called big point value. And right here, you see that for the S&P E-mini, it's 50. So I could theoretically take that 50 multiplied against the 4,300 and get, the value of the futures contract, and then base my movement on that value. So that's a way to circumvent the fact that this percentage does not include, the pointage value of each or the big point value of each one of these commodities. All right, let's go back here to my scan. Okay, you can see that the results right now, it's 100. I'm going to go here to the results, and let's go ahead and sort these by, you can sort them by value, by volume, or sort them by the percent. Let me go ahead and resize my scan. I always like to do that so that I can have a chart here on the right-hand side. Okay. I can do the same thing that I had on my other radar screen workspace. Change the time frame here to daily. link it. So I'm going to click on the S here and the S on my scanner. I'm going to double click on my indicator values. When you double click on the column header, it sorts the values in ascending order. And if you double click on the column header one more time, it sorts in descending order. So make sure that if you don't see the values sorted in the way that you were expecting, double click on the header again, and it should do it the right way. We see right here at the very top, this symbol, RETO. The name of the corporation is Reto Eco Solutions Incorporated. I'm not familiar with the company. I'm not sure what it does. We can see what its volume average is for the past 10 days. And the percentage movement is 111%. If I click on that symbol, we can see that right here. Yes, I'm not sure what happened to this. You know, this could have been a takeover. This could have been a bankruptcy. Something happened to this stock that made it go from $7 all the way to $1. But you can see the movement in price. You know, a few days ago it was trading at $3, spiked all the way up to $7, and now it's down to $1. As I said before, I'm not familiar with it, but it's interesting that we're able to find these volatile stocks that could present, you know, trading opportunities. If I go here to F45, we see something similar. You know, a couple weeks ago, it was trading at 70 cents. Now is a stock that is barely 8 cents at the moment. So these are the type of things that I do when I'm looking at ATR. I turn the ATR value into a percentage, and then I want to look for stocks that have significant movement in history. It doesn't mean that every stock that you get here is a tradable candidate, because it's not. But it's a good signal. It's a good alert. You know, it's a good way to look at stocks that you probably did not look at before and see if they would provide interesting trading opportunities. Champ says penny stock, pump and dump. Yes. Yes, I'll share the zip file here for everyone. I mean, it's right there. Okay, so again, the zip folder has the ELD with the studies that gives you this percentage calculation, and it also has the two workspaces that I share here at the bottom of the screen. Let me go here to this other symbol. You know, that's another one. It's also a penny stock worth right now 22 cents. But if you look over here, a couple of weeks ago, it was a stock that was worth $2. But again, I'm sure that by looking at this percentage, we're going to see a lot of extreme cases of stocks that something must have happened to them to have these dramatic drops or increases in price. Maybe if we want to, you know, filter them out, it could be a possibility. If you want to look at the bottom end of this list, for example, here is Nvidia, a pharmaceutical company. You know, now we don't have, you know, gaps in price, but is a stock that in the past 14 days has moved, you know, an average of 14-15%. Now here we have Fartech with an average volume of 34 million shares. This one has a significant gap. You know, a couple of weeks ago was trading at $5. Now it's only, you know, $2.93. But again, the ability for you to find these stocks and be able to take a look at them, you know, does allow you to then continue to do analysis and decide whether these stocks that we found are tradable or not. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, you can also filter by price, Champ. You know, if you don't want to see any of those penny stocks or anything that is lower than 10, let's say we take Champ's suggestion and we say, well, let's go over here and customize my scan. And I'm going to add another filter and say, give me stocks that have a closing price that is greater than 10. Okay, just to use Champ's example. And I can maybe move this up. I'll click it and I'll click the move up. So it does the filter before it runs the scan. So let me show you something. What I do sometimes is I uncheck the custom indicator because I know that by just using volume, we were down to 1,300 symbols, right? You guys remember that? If I add another filter, let's see what effect does it have. If I also want to filter for stocks that are greater than $10, if I run this, it runs quickly. And if I go to the log, notice that from the 1,300 we had remaining, we're down to 800. So it was able to remove 500 symbols that were lower than $10. Now, if I go back to my scan, let's go ahead and turn on my volatility or ATR volatility percent. I'm going to run it, and this will run on the $861. One of the nice things about running the scan multiple times is that the data that it used to run the initial calculations is already in your computer. So all these 800 symbols, they save a small file on your computer's hard drive, and now the scanner only has to reference that file in your hard drive. It doesn't have to use any bandwidth in your internet to download the data again, which is pretty cool. Oh, by the way, the filters that I used at the very beginning, the price filter and the volume filter, those two filters, they run on the TradeStation servers, and that's why they're very quick. This custom symbol, or the custom study that I'm using resides in my computer, so all the calculations happen locally. That's the reason why when I ran the scan only on price and volume, I got the results right away because it ran on the server. But as soon as I use something that is custom and it has custom easy language, it takes a little bit longer to calculate. So now we have, how many symbols we have here? So we have the top 100 out of those 800 that it found. And if I double click here, then I can see the symbols that came back. At the very top, we have AMC. We were looking at AMC earlier, right? And then we have here Hawaiian Electric Industries, EBIX Incorporated. They all move, or they all show this big candles, at least for the past 14 bars, and are used in the calculation of the ATR. For anybody that's having issues with the custom files, make sure you send an email, as Manolo suggested, right there in the chat, to education@tradestation.com. We'll make sure that everyone here receives the zip file if you're unable to download it from the chat. And also, if anybody has any questions regarding any of these studies, please make sure that you contact us for additional information. But that's it. Does anybody have any comments or any questions about what we presented here today? Again, we're using ATR, a very simple built-in study in TradeStation, and we're just modifying its calculation so that it takes into account the value of the security. It's not all about how much a security is moving, is how much it's moving in relationship to its price, which is it's the way that you find the best trading opportunities. Yes, for sure. Craig is asking, can you use it in lower time frames? All these calculations that we went through can also be used in lower time frames. If you're more of a day trader and you are filtering based on activity on an intraday basis, for sure. I just have to, if you're scanning for intraday, let me go here to customize. This is where we were when we were modifying the study. You just have to click on the plus here to the left of the custom study. By default, we're going to be using daily data. You see the interval says daily. But if I run this on, let's say, a 5-minute time frame, and I click on run, it's going to do this exact same scan, but now it's going to look at ATR movements in a 5-minute period. So let me change my chart here to 5 minutes. Okay, and then once it brings the symbols back, we'll take a look at different examples here, and this will be more of an intraday type of movement. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Yes, the webinar will be it's being recorded. Just give us a few days for us to run the video by our compliance department. our production team, and it'll take us a few days to post the recording. So this is at 99%. Let's go ahead and take a look. Of course, ATR percentage is going to be, the values are going to be smaller because we're measuring intra-day movements. But let's go ahead and sort. Double click once, ascending order. Double click twice, the descending order. So now we have one stock here at the very top, High-Tech Global Incorporated, symbol HKIT, that recently has moved out of proportion. If you look at it, this is a 3.19% movement in a 5-minute ATR calculation. So the movement in prices here is impressive. Just today, we started off at $37. The stock went all the way up to $39. It dropped all the way to $29, and now we are at $33. So significant price movements, dramatic price movements. And this is a symbol that I hadn't looked at before. Yeah, some of these symbols don't have a lot of intra-day movement. Here is Hawaiian Electric Industries. Again, today, great price swings. The stock started at $12, went up to $12.50, dropped to $11.30, and now it's at $11.86. All right. Armando, I won't do the exponential moving average on the ATR, but it's an interesting idea, and I agree. The ATR calculation. Let me go ahead and take a look because we may have a couple minutes here. The custom. This is the easy language code for the custom indicator that I shared with everyone here, and it's using the average true function, which is built into TradeStation. If I right click on average true range and I say, okay, let's open up the function, you can see how the function for the average true range uses average. Now, if I make a change here, I'm going to be changing the default function. So if you wanted to create your own function, you can. The way that you create an exponential moving average out of this is by just adding the X at the very beginning of the word average here. It won't allow you to change the default function. The reason for that is because functions in TradeStation are used in multiple analysis techniques. So we don't want you to accidentally modify a function and then have all these other indicators change their calculations. So that's why the functions are locked, but you can create a function that uses an exponential moving average instead of a symbol. And that way it gives more weight to current price activity, which is, what we would want. I was thinking about that this afternoon. And, if I'm creating an average true range that looks at 15, 20 historical bars, that's okay. But I want the more recent bars to get more weight because that's what's happening right now. So that was the idea of suggesting to use an exponential moving average instead of a simple moving average. Okay. Marvin makes a good comment here. Keltner channel calculates ATR from an EMA, which is also something to consider. All right. Excellent. And Roger, when you ask a cumulative list of symbols, when we were doing the scan right here on the platform, we asked the scanner to give us the top 100, based on the percentage ATR. So it ran the calculation of ATR, figured out what the percentage movement was compared to the price of the security, and it gave us the top 100 with the highest percentage movement. That's how we come by 100 symbols in the scanner. All right. Excellent. Correct, Roger. That was 100 from all symbols in the market. And also remember that if you were here when we first started setting up our scanner, we also used a price filter. So we want stocks greater than $10. And we also used a volume average filter. So greater than 1 million shares traded in average for the past 10 days. So in addition, if you take all those filters and combine them, then that's how we get the top 100. All right. And Abdi, the symbol or the study that I use that starts with @ARTTS, it's a custom indicator, and I provided it here in the chat. I'm going to link to it again. And if you're having difficulties downloading it from the chat, please reach out to us via email, education@tradestation.com. All right, guys, that's my presentation for today. Thank you so much for joining me. It was great, listening to or reading all your comments here. I hope that you walk away with something of benefit. So thank you for your support of the TradeStation platform. I hope that everyone has a wonderful evening, and I hope to see you in a future class right here at TradeStation. Goodbye, everyone. Great having you.